In 2015, Saudi Arabia launched what its generals promised would be a quick, decisive air campaign. A few weeks of strikes, a rebel force crushed, a friendly government restored. 10 years later, that campaign is still running. Over 100,000 airstrikes, hundreds of billions of dollars spent, and the rebels, armed with drones made of scrap metal and Iranian blueprints, have struck deep inside Saudi Arabia itself. They have hit oil fields, they have hit airports, they have hit the capital. The most expensive military in the Arab world cannot defeat the poorest country in the Middle East. This is the story of the Yemen War and the trap that Saudi Arabia never saw coming. Yemen sits at the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. It shares a long, jagged land border with Saudi Arabia. At its southwestern corner lies the Bab-el-Mandeb Strait, one of the most critical shipping lanes on Earth. Roughly 10% of global trade passes through it. Whoever controls Yemen's coast has a knife at the throat of international shipping. For centuries, Yemen was a collection of tribes, kingdoms, and ports. In the 20th century, it was divided into two states, the communist south and the royalist north, before unifying in 1990. But unification never truly worked. The north was dominated by a Zaydi Shia minority, a branch of Islam theologically close enough to Iran's Shia Islam for Tehran to see opportunity. The south resented northern dominance. And across the country, Al-Qaeda had established one of its most dangerous regional branches. Into this fractured landscape came the Houthis. The Houthis, officially called Ansar Allah, began as a religious and cultural revival movement in the 1990s in northwestern Yemen. Their founder, Hussein al-Houthi, preached against American and Israeli influence. Their slogan, "God is great, death to America, death to Israel, curse the Jews, victory for Islam." They were small, they were regional. And then, in 2014, they marched on the capital, Sana'a, and took it. Here's what makes the Yemen conflict so strategically important to Iran. Iran did not create the Houthis. The Houthis existed before Iran paid serious attention to them. But Iran recognized something valuable: a ready-made insurgent force on Saudi Arabia's southern border, ideologically compatible, with popular support and fighting experience. All Iran had to do was invest. Not invest billions, the way Saudi Arabia has spent on this war. Iran's investment has been measured in millions. Weapons smuggled in by sea, technical advisors, drone blueprints, ballistic missile components delivered in pieces and assembled inside Yemen. The Houthis did the rest. Iran's strategy has a name in military theory: asymmetric warfare. You do not fight your enemy directly. You force your enemy to fight someone else, someone cheap to arm, expensive to fight, impossible to defeat cleanly. For Iran, Yemen is not a war. It is a pressure valve. Every rial Saudi Arabia spends in Yemen is a rial not spent elsewhere. Every Saudi soldier killed in Yemen is domestic political pressure on the royal family. Every drone that hits a Saudi oil facility is a message to global energy markets and to Washington that the region is unstable. Iran spends a fraction of what Saudi Arabia spends, and Saudi Arabia cannot stop. The Saudi-led coalition entered Yemen in March 2015. It included the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. It was backed by American intelligence, British weapons sales, and French logistical support. On paper, it was overwhelming force versus a ragtag insurgency. The reality was different. Yemen's terrain is brutal. The northwest, Houthi heartland, is mountainous, with valleys and passes that have swallowed armies for centuries. Air power alone cannot hold ground. Ground operations require troops, and Arab coalition troops fighting in Yemen's mountains discovered what every invading force eventually discovers. Local fighters who know the terrain and have nothing to lose are extraordinarily difficult to defeat. The humanitarian cost has been catastrophic. The United Nations has described Yemen as the world's worst humanitarian crisis at various points during this conflict. Blockades, many imposed by the Saudi-led coalition to cut off Houthi supply lines, cut off food and medicine as well. Famine, cholera, a country of 30 million people, already the poorest in the Middle East, pushed to the edge of extinction. And the Houthis kept fighting. More than that, they evolved. In the early years, they used artillery and small arms. By 2019, they were striking Saudi Aramco's Abqaiq facility, the single most important oil processing plant on Earth, with a coordinated drone and cruise missile attack that temporarily cut Saudi oil output in half. It was one of the most consequential strikes on civilian infrastructure in modern warfare. And it was done with weapons that, in some cases, cost less than $1,000 each.
If the war is unwinnable, why doesn't Saudi Arabia just stop? 3 reasons. First, geography. A Houthi-controlled Yemen, aligned with Iran, means Iran effectively controls Saudi Arabia's southern border and has a permanent presence near the Bab-el-Mandeb. That is an existential strategic threat that no Saudi ruler can accept. Second, legitimacy. Saudi Arabia intervened to restore the internationally recognized Yemeni government. Walking away means admitting defeat. For Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who personally championed this war as one of his first major decisions after consolidating power, withdrawal without a face-saving outcome is politically dangerous at home. Third, the Iran dynamic. Pulling out of Yemen without a deal would be seen across the region as Iran winning. It would embolden every Iranian-backed group from Lebanon to Iraq to Gaza. For Saudi Arabia, which sees itself as the leader of the Sunni Arab world and the primary check on Iranian expansion, that signal cannot be sent. So, Saudi Arabia stays, spends, bleeds slowly. This is what a proxy war looks like from the inside. The great power, Iran, watches from a distance, supplying enough to keep the wound open, never enough to provoke direct confrontation. The regional power, Saudi Arabia, cannot win, cannot leave, cannot stop. Yemen is not just a Yemeni story. It is a preview. Iran has built this model across the region. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen. Each group is locally rooted, locally motivated, locally fighting. Iran provides support, training, weapons, money, ideology, but does not control them like a remote control. These groups have their own agendas, but those agendas overlap enough with Iran's to be useful. The result is a ring of pressure surrounding Saudi Arabia and Israel, maintained at low cost, sustained indefinitely. Against this strategy, conventional military power, the kind Saudi Arabia has spent hundreds of billions building, is surprisingly ineffective. You cannot bomb an idea. You cannot airstrike a supply route that runs through fishing boats and mountain passes. You cannot win a war where the enemy's goal is simply to keep fighting. America has learned this in Afghanistan and Iraq. Saudi Arabia is learning it in Yemen. The question now is not who wins. Nobody is going to win. The question is, who can afford to keep going, and for how long? The war in Yemen has killed hundreds of thousands of people. It has displaced millions more. It has destroyed a country that was already desperately poor. And at the end of it, regardless of how it eventually concludes, Yemen will need to be rebuilt from nothing by a world that has largely looked away. The great powers that armed both sides, the regional powers that fought their rivalries on Yemeni soil, and the international institutions that failed to stop any of it, they will move on to the next crisis. The people of Yemen will not have that option. History has a word for countries where powerful neighbors fight their wars without risking their own soil. That word is not battleground. It is sacrifice. The most expensive weapon in the world is a war you can't win and can't stop.